Welcome everyone to the third installment of our virtual cooking class using the Pod and Bean green chili hot sauce and the Mexican seasoning blend. Tonight we're going to make carnitas. We're actually going to do carnitas two ways, which means we're going to cook it one way, but we're going to use it either in a bowl or we can use the carnitas in a burrito, or you can use it in an actual, just in a tortilla. So we'll show you all the cut up ingredients here in a minute, but first I wanted to start with what we're going to be using. I've got about a 2.5 pound pork tenderloin that we're going to cut up into pieces and cook in the InstaPot. We're going to have onion, we'll be slicing that up, a poblano pepper. We're going to use a couple of lime zest and the juice from the limes. We're going to use obviously the green chili hot sauce. We're going to use the Mexican seasoning blend, and we're going to be using chicken broth and cooking all of that in the InstaPot. And we'll be using the cilantro as a garnish. So we're going to take a break and we're going to be chopping everything up, and we'll get right back to you. Okay, we have everything, I think, all cut up and ready to go. And just so you know, these are really unrehearsed cooking videos, so you'll have to forgive any mistakes that we make as we go through this. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add the seasoning. I've got about 2 heaping tablespoons of the Mexican seasoning blend and about maybe a teaspoon and a half of salt, which you can adjust that to your own taste. You may want to salt afterwards, but we're going to start with this, and we're going to just season this all on here, and I'm going to rub it all together so we get it all over the pork. I've got my InstaPot, got a runaway pork. Got my InstaPot over here heating up. And as soon as it's ready, we're going to saute the pork first, and then we'll take it out once it's just sauteed, and we'll add in the onions and the poblano pepper and the other ingredients to that, and we'll cook those, and then we'll add the pork back in, and we'll set to pressure cook for probably about 30-35 minutes, I would think. Should be good on that. And it's getting preheated. I should have turned it on a little bit sooner.
What if you don't have an InstaPot? That's an unrehearsed question.
Yes, he likes to catch me off guard with these questions. Well, if you don't have an InstaPot, you could obviously start earlier in the day and do this in your crock pot. You could just put it all in together in the crock pot and turn it on and let it go. You could even do the tenderloin whole. You wouldn't have to cut it up like this if you wanted to do it in your crock pot, because you're going to cook it probably for the shortest amount of time in your crock pot. If you dump all the ingredients in, probably about 4 hours. Or you can cook it slower. And the reason you could do it whole if you wanted is because you want to kind of shred it up afterwards. And it looks like we're pretty close to being ready to put this in our oil. I added probably a couple of tablespoons or so of olive, of olive oil. You can see I just really wanted to coat the bottom. So we're going to drop the pork all in here. Oh, pork on the floor. Got a tenderloin that doesn't want to participate, so he's going to have to go away. I'm going to wash my hands and get the pork juice off of them before I touch anything else. Okay, so I had the pork in the InstaPot on saute, and I was really just searing it, and then I pulled it out. I wish you all could smell this. It just smells wonderful with that Mexican seasoning. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put the onions in, and we're going to put the poblanos in, and we're basically just going to kind of saute those around, and we want them to soften up. And when they soften, get a little bit soft, then we'll throw the pork back in with it, and we'll put everything else in, and then we'll pressure cook it and let it go. Okay, so the onions and the pepper, the poblano pepper, have been cooking for maybe 5 minutes or so. Just depends on how fast and how hot your InstaPot is. Or if you're doing this, you can do it on the stove on a skillet, or like I said, put everything in at once in your crock pot. But those have been cooking. Now, I do want to say one thing about a poblano. Some are really hot, some are mild. It really is hard. You don't know until you bought it and you try it. But you definitely, when you cut them, you want to take the seeds out, because like with any jalapeno, serrano, poblano pepper, the seed is where your real heat is. So you want to take the seeds out so that unless you want the seeds in, then you like it really, really hot. All right, so I'm going to add the pork back in. Tell you, we just have pork wanting to run away tonight. All right, now we're going to add in some of the other ingredients. Now, 3 cloves of garlic, or you can cheat like I did tonight, and you can use the squeezable already cut up and ready to go garlic, just to save some time. So I'm adding about, and that was probably, I would say about 2 tablespoons, maybe 2 heaping tablespoons of already cut up, or 3 cloves that you've minced up. Now I want to add in the star of the show, besides the Mexican seasoning. The other star of the show, co-star, is the chili lime, the green chili lime hot sauce. And I've got to tell you guys, this bottle, I'm almost used it up, and I've probably been using this for several months, and I use it in a lot of things. So it's going to last a long time, especially if you dilute it. And you can dilute it with chicken broth, or you can dilute it. I used Worcestershire sauce, or however you say it. I used 2 tablespoons of the 2 to 3 tablespoons of the hot sauce, and then maybe about a tablespoon of the Worcestershire sauce to dilute it down a little bit and give it another really good layer of flavor. We're going to add that right in. I've also got the juice of 2 limes. I have the zest of 2 limes. And then we're going to add about a cup and a half, 12 ounces of chicken broth. Now, you may want to adjust this if you're using less pork. You're going to want to adjust this down. If you're using 2 to 3 pounds of the pork, then you want to probably go ahead and use a cup and a half of the chicken broth. I'm going to add that in, and I'm going to just give it a quick little stir here. Then we're going to turn off the saute. We're going to put the lid on our InstaPot. And as you heard me say before, if you don't have one of these, they're really great. I've gotten hooked on it. It does perfect rice, and it's phenomenal for doing a quick cook, especially if you're using the pressure cooker. And I'm going to set this one tonight on poultry, not poultry, I'm sorry. Gonna go to pork. Told you this was totally unrehearsed. Gonna go to pork. We're gonna set it. We're gonna turn our time up to about, I think I'm gonna do 35 minutes. The actual recipe I'm adapting from said you could do 25. I want to make sure it's good and done so we can shred it. So I'm going to set it at 35, and I'm going to start it, and away we go. And we'll see you back when this is done. Okay, while we were away waiting on the carnitas to finish cooking, we decided to make up our standard slaw that we love to put on our fish tacos and on our burrito bowls. This is really easy to make, and we used about a quarter of a red cabbage that was shredded up and 2 carrots shredded. Maybe we used about, little handful, that's probably about a tablespoon or so of cilantro, chopped up cilantro in it. I used the zest of 2 limes, the juice of 1 lime, and then maybe a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. It's kind of a to taste kind of a thing, so there really isn't exact measurements. It's just whatever tastes good to you. Then I added about 75 twists of the garden blend, so you'll get your forearm exercise in. And mix that all up together, and that will be our slaw to just give that nice little something extra and some extra veggies to your carnitas. And in addition to that, then we make up another little sauce to go on top of that to finish it off. And it's really nothing more than a couple of maybe tablespoons of mayonnaise and about 3 or 4, again to taste, of a salsa. This is a mild salsa. You may want to use a medium or a hot to season it up a little bit more. We mix that together. We added about 1/4 of a teaspoon of the Mexican seasoning blend. So we're getting all of our pot and bean into this one recipe here. So there you have, this goes on the top of whether you've done tacos or whether you're doing the actual burrito bowl. So we have those all ready to go, and we're just gonna wait about 24 more minutes on the pork to cook, and then we'll be ready to eat. Okay, and it's one last added surprise, since we still had about 15 minutes left on the pork. I decided to add a side dish. So now we have our full complete meal. We've got the carnitas, we've got the veggie cabbage slaw, and I made a corn salad to go with it. I just used a bag of frozen corn, thawed it out. You can also pop it in the microwave to make sure that it's nice and thawed. And then I added about 1/2 cup of a chopped or diced green pepper. We added maybe about 1/2 to 3/4 of a cup of finely chopped red onion. I then added about, that's the pepper, some salt and pepper to taste. Again, about 75 twists of the garden blend. Maybe 1/2 teaspoon of the Mexican seasoning blend. You want 3 tablespoons of an apple cider vinegar and about 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. And that's your dressing, and maybe 1/2 cup of little sliced cherry tomatoes. Mixed it all up, added some cilantro with it, and that's your side dish. So in the time it took to do the pork in the pressure cooker, we made our slaw, we made our dressing, and we made another side dish. Okay, after about 35 minutes of pressure cooking time, and then I let it set for another maybe 10 minutes, we pulled it out and shredded it all up. You can see how wonderful that looks. So now the construction process. We'll start with the tacos. We've already added a little bit of the carnitas to the tacos. I'm going to next top it with a little bit of the, I've got some cilantro hanging on there. So we'll top it with the cabbage slaw, as much or as little as you want. And next we're going to add just a little bit of our secret sauce. Awesome, there you go. So there are the tacos. Then, as I told you, we got carnitas 2 ways. So we're going to do a bowl. So I have the rice already. I'm going to add some of the carnitas. And there is some wonderful juice from this that you can also add to this if you would like, as much as little as you want. Then we're going to top it with the slaw. See how pretty and colorful that looks? And then the secret sauce again on the top of it. A little bit of the cilantro garnish just so it looks pretty. And if you don't like cilantro, a lot of people don't, you can easily just use parsley. And then you've got your side corn salad. So there we have our carnitas 2 ways. However you want to do it. You may want the bowl one night and then you may want to do the tacos for lunch or the next night. So just to kind of wrap up, we use the pot and bean from the Cocoa Exchange, the Mexican seasoning, the green chili hot sauce, the garden blend, and then I just want to mention that these are gluten-free. In fact, all of the meals we've done, virtual cooking classes we've done so far, everything is gluten-free, and not to mention you get the added gut benefits of the apple cider vinegar and the bone broth. So very healing for your intestinal system. So there you have it. I hope you enjoy.
Bon appetit. To.